and welcome back to RareRoo Crafts. I'm Sarah and today I'm on to share with you what I am creating for the hashtag The Feel of Vintage 2021 collaboration. So this is a collaboration that's hosted by the lovely Nelda of Nelda's Crafts. And she's brought together a group of fantastic crafters to share their love of all things vintage with you. So I am actually going to be doing some stuff with some faux vintage things this week. I thought it might be nice to show you guys that you don't have to have access to all the actual vintage stuff that I've been using in the last couple of projects in order to get that feel of vintage. So as I said, this is a collaboration. Don't forget to go on over and check out the other fantastic crafters in the group. They will all be linked in the description box below this video. So for this week, I decided that as it's Easter Day today, I would make some cards, some Easter cards. So, excuse the rustling. I've got some craft cards and envelopes that I picked up. I actually picked these up in Home Bargains. Every now and again, they have these packs of craft cards in, and they're really good. They're really thick card, so they make nice sturdy card bases. And again, with them being that craft, you automatically sort of get that feel of things being a little bit more vintage. So the main elements for the cards that I'm going to create this week are actually using some images that I have printed off from the Graphics Fairy. I have a subscription to the Graphics Fairy. Some of these are blowing the camera out a little bit, but got some gorgeous sort of Easter images and some sort of backing papers. I also printed off a set of sentiments. Now some of them I've already cut out because I wanted to foil them. So I printed them on my laser printer, but I did them with the toner so that there wasn't too much toner laid down. I sort of did draft print, and what that did was then when I went over it with the foil in the laminator, it hasn't foiled everything, so it's given it a bit of a sort of vintagey feel straight away, because it's almost like the foiling has been rubbed off in places. So I thought they'd be really nice to add to it. And I've then just gone around my craft room and I've collected together all sorts of things that I might think might look good. So I found some flowers that these were from the Mother's Day project that I made. So I thought I'd get those. I've got another box of flowers that I've got leftovers from other projects. I thought I'd try and use some of those up. I've cut a few die cuts that I thought might be nice. So some little Easter baskets, some bows, some little Easter eggs, some bigger Easter eggs. They're there then if I want to use them. I found out some wood pieces that I've got that I had in my stash. So I've got these lovely little, these are really cute because they already look vintagey. So they're little wooden ones. They've been painted white and then they've been roughly foiled over the top. But they've got that really lovely sort of vintagey feel to them. So I think I've got some more of these somewhere. I think I must have a little pot of them. But these didn't fit in the pot, so I think I'm going to use some of those, or I might use some of those. I've got these little cute wooden toppers. Now these look quite sort of modern, but I'm thinking maybe if I sort of ink them a little bit, I might be able to make them a little bit more vintage. And I've got these cute little chicks as well. They were from Hobbycraft. I think they were last Easter. I think I bought them after last Easter. Well, I must have done because I haven't placed an order at Hobbycraft, and obviously the shop's shut, so I haven't been in. And then I've got all of these little wooden rabbits, and I think I got those at the same time. So they're just plain wood, and I could do what I wanted with those. I've also got out on the table behind me, I've got a load of different laces and trims, some other handmade flowers, and some bits of like fabric greenery and that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to sort of get into it. So to start with, I think I'll probably try and do, I don't know, 2 or 3 cards. To start with, I start thinking about, well, what do I want down as my base? Now, in the pack that I printed off from the Graphics Fairy, there were these lovely journaling pages. Now, the camera is blowing these out a little bit, unfortunately, but they've got some really lovely textured, it looks a little bit sort of mottled and that in the background. So, and I've actually printed the smaller ones, so you get 2 sheets on one page, because obviously I don't need a full A4 size for this card. So I'm going to start out by cutting out, I've got 4 of those, so I'm going to start out by cutting those out, and I've got some music sheets as well, so I'll just roughly cut those out to start with and do a little bit of fussy cutting, and then I will come back when I've got all of that ready and we can start just layering things up on the card. Okay, so I have done some cutting out, and I am going to just start popping some stuff together now, and I'm just having a play really. So I don't tend to give Easter cards out, so maybe I'll put them in my stash and send them to some crafty friends next year. I just haven't been particularly organised of late. I haven't been on much as late, as I'm sure anybody that watches my channel has noticed. I've just not really been feeling it. I'm doing my collabs and things like that. Obviously birthday cards where I've got to get them done. Other than that, I haven't done tons. I've been learning to knit socks. So that's been my crafty outlet for the past few weeks. So these ones I've all cut to size for the cards. They're just like backing sheets. And you could use them, so that would be beautiful just on its own. Just ink around the edges a little bit to make it look a little bit more vintage and a little bit more distressed. And you could pop that on your card with a sentiment and a couple of flowers, and that would be beautiful. In fact, we might do that. We'll keep this one really simple. So we'll start with this one, and we'll keep it really, really simple, because I think this paper just speaks for itself. It's so pretty and so sort of delicate, and I just really, really love it. So I'm just going to pop some tape on the back. There we go. Get me pokey tool so I can get that backing off. Don't like taking the backing off with my fingernails because I end up with little cuts under my fingernails. Then I always put a little bit of white glue even when I've done the tape. The tape's great because it gives you that that sort of stick straight away, but I'm never convinced it's going to hold for very long, and the white glue will just help you if you haven't quite got it centered first time around. It'll help you to just move it around very slightly. Just tuck that little bit of tape in there, and I'm just going to lay that on, and that is just so pretty. Just like that, you know, you could put a little sentiment on there, write something lovely on the inside, and that on its own is so pretty. That would make a lovely, lovely card. But we're going to add just a couple of little bits just to make it even more special. We're going to pop some greenery on, maybe some flowers. I'm just going to have a quick look at what I've got in my other flowers. Okay, so I've just seen this lovely vintage looking bit of trim over with all my other bits and bobs, so I'm going to cut a piece of that off. That'll be really cute just down the bottom here. So tuck my cable for my hot glue gun. Cable's all tangled up. Let's see if there's a back side and a front side to me trim. Don't think there really is. So I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue on the back here. You could use Fabri-Tac or even double-sided tape or something. I'm just using what I've got to hand. I'm going to put that on and then just just using one of these little silicone finger protectors to try not to burn my finger. And then I can trim that down. Now I don't want it to be too neat, because after all I'm going for that vintage look. So I might just ruffle the edges up in a minute. There we go. So you can take a pokey tool or something like that and just go into those edges a little bit and just free up some of the strands, and it'll just make it look a little bit shabbier, which is what I'm going for, that sort of shabby chic sort of look. So I've then pulled out, I've got loads of different sort of leaves and things. These, I actually bought these for Christmas, but I thought they would look very cute on here. And then I've got these ones. These are like little fabric leaves. Where's my, oops, sorry, bash my camera. So I'm going to snip those off and tuck a couple of those in. I'm not going to go too crazy to start with because I can add more in, but I think I want that in the background. So pop that one there, and then this one, I'm just tacking them down to start with, and then I can manoeuvre them about a little bit once I get going. And as you stick other things down over the top, obviously it'll stick the layer below as well a little bit more. So I'm going to pop that on like that. Okay, then I've got some flowers. I like that. Oh no, there's a yellow one. Oh yeah, the yellow, definitely the yellow. Like that. So I'm going to pop that one there like that, and pop one of these underneath. These ones are nice because they've got a little bit of wire running up the back of them, which means you can actually give them a little bit of a shape. There we go. Okay, what else have we got? Some yellow roses. Some yellow roses. Now these are looking just a mite too bright for me, so I'm going to take a bit of the Wild Honey Distress ink and just brush that over the top, and it gives it that sort of slightly more vintagey look without it being brown. It sort of gives it a bit more shading and tone and all the rest of it, which helps with realism, but it also just takes off that really bright in your face yellow. What else have we got? All my flowers. These little fluffy ones. Ooh, it's all coming apart. Oh yeah, that's pretty. So put that one like that, and then I'm going to pop this little one next to it like so. That's cute. And then this one up the top here, like that. So again, if you've got flowers and they don't quite fit your colour scheme, just go over them with a bit of ink. It will make most things blend in quite nicely. Right, and then I want one of these little, oh yeah, I like it up there, just poking out up the top there. Super cute. So, tuck that little bunny in just there, and then I've got these cute little Easter eggs as well, which might be nice. Again, I'm just going to go around them with that wild honey ink, just to give them a bit of something else, with something extra. So I'm trying not to overthink it, but I am trying to sort of create a cluster down in this corner, so you can still see the cute little ducklings. And it leaves me a little space up here to put a sentiment of some description. And then I've got this one, which is, again, it's in the right colours, but it's got a little bit of patterning on it. That one I feel like wants a pop dot behind it so that it stands up a little bit. Stands a bit proud of the other two. So just going to put a pop dot on the back there. Yeah, that's better. Like that. Oh, that's so cute. I really like that. And then I just want a sentiment for up the top there. So where did I put the sentiments? That's a question. Okay, so spring work is going on with joyful enthusiasm. Spring adds new life and new beauty to all that is. I like that one. So I'm going to just see if I can find a die to cut this out with. Okay, so I have trimmed that one out. I couldn't find a die, so I just trimmed it on the cutter, and then I've taken a piece of the yellow card that the Easter eggs are cut out of, and I have made that slightly bigger. I'm just going to cut a piece of cardboard to pop this up a little bit. So this is just packaging. I tend to run it through my die cutter so that it flattens it out a little bit, but it gives it just enough lift to add a bit of dimension. So I'm going to add a little bit of packing between the sentiment layer and the yellow layer, like so, like that, and then that is going to go up there. I'm going to use a little bit of white glue because then I can mess about with it a little bit and get it where I want it. Okay. Lovely. I think I'm going to leave that one at that. I think that is so pretty. And all I've done is use the backing paper and then just put a little floral cluster and a quote on there and this lovely little bit of vintagey looking lace. Just to add a little bit of ink to that lace and just blend it in a little bit and make it look a little bit more vintage. So as you can see, I've made that card and I haven't used anything that is really vintage at all, but I think you'll agree you get a really beautiful vintage feel to it. You could add some coordinating paper on the inside, so you could either print that again or print sort of perhaps the plainer one there and pop that on the inside and write your sentiment on there. So that's that one. Now I'm going to do another couple, I think, but what I will do, because this video will be super long otherwise, I will go and I will make them and then I will come back and show you them when they are all created. Okay, so the light is a bit funny because it's quite bright in here. The sun keeps peeking out from behind the clouds. So I ended up making 4 cards. So this is the last one that I've just made. So I've obviously got the backing paper. It's the one with the little girl with the little lamb. You can just about see her head there, but because you can't see anything else, you can't really make out what it is anyway. So it just looks like a sort of distressed vintagey background. And then I've used this lovely little Easter, I think it probably was a postcard or greetings card, that obviously I printed off. I've popped that up on some cardboard, and I'd got a rectangle of this gold that I'd cut out of the centre of another card, of a layering piece, so that I didn't waste the gold card, and it got this lovely cross pattern. So I trimmed out 2 sides of it, and then I've layered the postcard up on what was left, and then popped the other bit, the bit that I trimmed out, up and away from the postcard a little bit to sort of frame it. And I think that's a really cute sort of effect that's a little bit different. See if I can block the sun a little bit so you can see it a bit better. And then I've put a little cluster up in the little top here with a flower and some leaves and some little filler flowers. And then down the bottom, in the bottom left here, I've put another cluster of some roses, some yellow roses and a cream rose that I've put a little bit of wild honey ink on. I got one of the little plain wood rabbits. I went over it with a Zig 2-way glue pen. It's the one that's blue when you first put it on, and then it dries to clear, but it's still tacky. And then I just went over it with the leftovers of some of the foil from foiling the sentiment. I always keep my foil leftovers because they're really good for things like this. And I just foiled my little rabbit there, and I've done one of the little quotes, and I've just popped that on some yellow cardstock. So that's that one. I did this one with the beautiful little chicks. Again, it's one of the sort of greeting card ones, and I've popped that up on some gold foil, and this is the one where actually I'd cut a rectangle out with a die so as I didn't waste it, and that's what I used on the other card. I've put a little sentiment up there again. I've popped that up on some gold. To make the gold look a little bit more vintage, I just rubbed it over it once I'd cut it out with a very fine emery board just to scratch it and scrape it a little bit, and then I went over it with some vintage photo. I've put a little doily, paper doily, in the background there, and then again a little floral cluster down the bottom here with some blue roses and some yellow roses, some of those lovely sparkly ferns, and that one of the cute little chick wooden embellishments, and I just inked that with a little bit of vintage photo just to make it blend in with the card overall. And then I've popped some little gems in the corner. Obviously I've got this one that we did together with the cluster and the rabbit at the top there, and that was the one that was just using that beautiful paper just as it was without adding any other focal images to it. And then finally, I had to use this chap because he was one of my favourite images from the collection that I printed out today. I just love him with his little top hat and bringing his roses. So I popped him up on some card. There's a little bit of the Easter music paper behind. You can't see an awful lot of it, but it is there. I did a little sentiment, a kind word. It's like a spring day. I just thought that was quite cute with him. And then I made a little embellishment down the bottom here with some of those die cuts. I made a little Easter basket with the ribbon on it, and then I stacked some Easter eggs all up the side of the Easter bunny there. And that's it. So those are my 4 vintage cards that I have made today, or vintage feel cards that I've made today. And I hope that just inspires people to see that you can make vintage projects without using vintage products. Because I know I had quite a few comments on my last video that, you know, I'd got lots of brilliant vintage ephemera and stuff like that, and other people don't have access to that. But this sort of goes to show that you can do it with, you know, if you've got a printer, or if you can sort of access a printer at a print store or something like that, you can do it without the vintage stuff. So like I say, all my images came from the Graphics Fairy. They do have loads of free images as well as the membership one. I'm not affiliated with them. I just really like them. They've got loads of fab images, and I used their free images for about 2 years before, 2-3 years before I actually signed up to get the monthly membership from them. But if you just go onto Pinterest or Google and just Google vintage Easter images, and obviously you can do that for anything, you know, for any theme that you're going for. If you just put vintage in the front, or if you Google vintage ephemera, or you put vintage ephemera into Pinterest, you'll get loads of free images come up. You've just got to be careful that you are using things that are copyright free. They are in the public domain, so that they're old enough that you can use them as they are, you know, particularly if you are planning on selling any of your work. So that's what I've made for this week's The Feel of Vintage. Now, don't forget that we have got the final week to come, and that is on the 18th of April. And that will be our last project for this collaboration. So don't forget to hop along and see what everybody else has been creating. I know that I can't wait to have a look later tonight. But right now, I'm off to watch Tangled with my girls. Happy Easter, everyone. See you all again soon.